Hi, everybody. Hello. Welcome to Herman's Jazz Club. Is it not beautiful here? Oh, my gracious. Yeah, this is a first for me, and thank you. I know it's probably a first for some of you, too, because I haven't seen most of these faces before. Hooray! Nice to meet you. Thank you. We were too afraid to touch. I knew I loved you too much to settle for the distance of a friend. So we swam in student loans and sold sandwiches and cell phones. We didn't have a dime, but we still had time to spend. Thought that we knew everything, jumped the gun with 2 gold rings and got married in the blazing August heat. Yeah, we opened all the gifts we got in the Empire Theater parking lot. Yeah, we tied the knot and we never got cold feet. There isn't one thing I would alter. I know you'll stand by me through thick and thin. When we walk together, our steps will never falter. I don't know where you stop and I begin. 20 years in. Remember when you bought me that pair of fancy stockings one Christmas when the money was running tight? I was so mad for what you spent. I overlooked your good intent, but we still paid the rent and they still fit me just right. Oh, we lived in dingy basements, so happy to have our own place. Went to school and brought 2 babies into the world. And even after all these years, changed plans and changed careers, I only really want to be your girl. There isn't one thing I would alter. I know you'll stand by me through thick and thin. When we walk together, our steps will never falter. I don't know where you stop and I begin. 20 years in. Now our little girl is grown and has a sweetheart of her own. And when they meet for tea, he brings her flowers. And I see myself in her and just how young we were. And I hope she knows a love as sweet as ours. There isn't one thing I would alter. I know you'll stand by me through thick and thin. When we walk together, our steps will never falter. I don't know where you stop and I begin. 20 years in. 20 years in. 20 years in. 20 years in. Thank you so much. Quick poll to start things off. Who came here for jazz tonight? Oh, thank God. Okay, great, great. I was about ready to go run and look at the poster again just to make sure. No, I don't know how you all ended up here. I know how a few of you ended up here because I'm related to them, but beyond the rest, what a treat it is. This is kind of new turf for me, new territory. I'm from Nova Scotia. Yeah, it's kind of the other side of things. And this is new turf, so you never know how it's going to go in new places. And wow, what a week we have had trekking through BC. My husband has a lot of family connections here, and I have none. So I'm happy to see I have some new friends here in the crowd. My husband's a trooper. He is just he's a real tough cookie. You know, he didn't marry a musician. He didn't marry a songwriter. None of this was in the cards when we did get married, which was some time ago, as you just heard in that first song. I wrote that on the actual day of our 20th anniversary, and only just got it on a record now, 5 years later. So we're still going strong, fortunately, because boy, that would be awkward, I realized. Wouldn't that be odd? Oh, now it's permanent, I guess. It's recorded. But, you know, we were just broke, reckless college kids who were absolutely clueless about our lives when we met each other, and academic failures, and penniless. And so we sat down and had a business meeting at a Wendy's restaurant. We were both dating other people. There's a lot of information, get ready. And flunking out of school, and we had a little business meeting. We sat down over hamburgers and said, you know, things are going terribly for each of us. We're unhappy with the people we're with. It's not fair to them to stay together. School's going terribly. We have no money. We should just marry each other. And here we are, 25 years later. So neither of us are very ambitious people, it turns out, and that's a secret to success. But, you know, when I started writing songs, I got into this by accident, this whole music thing. This was not my lifelong dream. I had no visions of anything like this. I met a country musician. I was at a music festival. My daughter had an ice cream stand, and I was her chief scooper. And all the musicians would come off stage and stop by the ice cream festival, and this fellow named Ryan Cook stopped by and clearly saw me up to my elbows in moon mist ice cream and said, "That's a star in the making," and hired me as a backup singer, and we toured together. I started writing songs. Flash forward, here we are, 4 records in. But the first songs I wrote, I don't know how much country music you listen to here in Victoria. The relationships in those songs are often not going very well. And so the first songs I wrote were very heartachy and heartbreaky, and I thought I owed it to my husband to set the record straight. So I called my first record Other People's Lives, just to clarify the matter. And I made sure there was at least one song on it, though, that was closer to the truth. And I'm going to play you that song, but one more bit of business here, because there's a line in it that makes a reference to working out in the cold, burying the dead, which registers as a bit odd if you don't also know that I have worked as a funeral director. Ooh, a lot of admin there. Okay, let's go. This is a song for my husband Andrew from the album Other People's Lives. This is the song Other People's Wives. Well, you love to act, but I can't act my age. And I've got no taste for curtains unless they're hanging on a stage. I've got no mind for fashion, and I don't do my hair. I'm not the kind of girl inclined to care. I don't know the names of garden flowers, and I don't make good coffee. I don't have those superpowers. Dust and dishes settle around our place, and your work shirts have more wrinkles than my face. I know I'm not like other people's wives, with suppers set to simmer while they work their 9 to 5s. They don't waste time writing songs about other people's lives. I know I'm not like other people's wives. I never feel I am where I should be. My woes and worries would be through if there were two of me. One to work out in the cold, burying the dead. The other making love and baking bread. I know I'm not like other people's wives, with supper set to simmer while they work their 9 to 5s. They don't waste time writing songs about other people's lives. I know I'm not like other people's wives, and I can't hold 'em up and brew. Well, I play guitar down in the music room, get the groceries, change the bed. No, I'm no use to you when there's a song stuck in my head. And darling, I won't blame you if you go. If you want to buy a ticket to another woman's show, but before you do, I ask one little thing. Just sit a while and smile while I sing. I know you're not like other people's men, who only say I love you every now and then. Although there is no contest, you are still a perfect 10. I know you're not like other people's men. I know you're not like other people's men. Thank you so much. We're not big on occasions, not romantic occasions, Andrew and I. We like Christmas and Halloween and Easter, but even our anniversary, it's honestly not that big of a deal. And I wrote him that song, but it's, mainly because one of the great things about songwriting is that you get to capture little moments of your life and scrapbook them, or other people's stories, but more importantly, they make very cheap gifts. And so that's how come we had an anniversary song. But one of the most overrated holidays, I think, is Valentine's Day. How do you all feel about Valentine's Day? Are you into it? No. I have to say, I asked that question, that's pretty much the unanimous answer. But a show earlier this week, there was a gentleman right front and center sitting there, and he very enthusiastically and confidently raised his hand, loved Valentine's Day, so into it. Didn't realize he was the only one in the whole crowd behind him. And the most perplexed person, even more than me, was his wife sitting next to him. She had no idea how into it he was. And so I, ground everything to a halt because I wanted to understand what was going on in this dynamic. I said, what do you love about Valentine's Day? Thinking he would have some smart answer like, all the chocolate discounted on February 15th, which is the only thing I love about Valentine's Day. And I never would have pegged it, but he said, with a big hand gesture, he said, the anticipation. What the heck is that about? His poor wife had no clue what he was talking about. So it looked like they weren't fresh out of the gate as a couple, if you know what I'm saying. So maybe he's been hatching this Valentine's Day plan for 17 years or something, and it was yet to come. I don't know, but I can't stop thinking about it. Anyway, back to the matter at hand. I don't love Valentine's Day at all, and we really don't observe it very much. And whatever I did love about Valentine's Day was dashed early on. I loved it when I was a kid and in elementary school, and you would make Valentines, or more fun, buy a box of Valentines from Zellers. And then you would fill them all out for your friends and, try not to give certain people Valentines that might suggest you had a crush on them, but they'd be Care Bears ones and Transformers ones, and it was a big political move about which ones you had and which ones your neighbors had. And that was great. I loved it. But when I was in college, before Andrew and I got together, I did see someone else, and so did he. You already know that already. And that person had a great idea that we would celebrate Valentine's Day in a very grown-up way. We would exchange fancy lingerie. But unfortunately, we also were broke college kids back then, and what fancy meant at that point was the nearest store we could get to, because neither of us had a car, and something that fell within the budget. So we went to a store that I don't know if you'll be familiar with. It's called Byway. Byway, for the uninitiated, if you think of Walmart here, and you think of Dollarama here, Byway sits about here on that scale. And so Valentine's Day for me, I think, was spoiled thoroughly by a pair of rayon blend thong underwear. And I just remembered this show is being live streamed right now, so I'm not going to say anything more about that. Hi, Mom. This is a song for the folks who are not so into Valentine's Day. It's off this new record. Wow, we're getting to know each other really quickly tonight, Victoria. Go. Don't make my Valentine red like the suitcase that I keep tucked under the bed. 'Cause I have no plans to leave while other girls receive cards and roses. Give me kisses instead of a Valentine red. Make my Valentine brown like the sweater you left with me when you left town to work planting trees and feed the mosquitoes while I waited for the mail to come round. Make my Valentine brown. Make my Valentine pink, like the color of cheeks when I've had one more drink. On the dance floor we move when the band finds a groove. And we don't touch, but I can feel what you think. Make my Valentine pink. Others may cut my heart, but you can glue it. You're the mark of the arrow run through it. Make my Valentine blue, like the ink in our letters of tenderness true. The shirt that you bought was the same ocean hue as the dress I was wearing when we said I do. And the light in the night as I lie next to you. Make my Valentine blue. Make my Valentine blue. Thanks so much. I went into is it Russell's bookstore here. Oh my heavens, so daunting, I find it. I used to love browsing in bookstores, and now there's something about it. I get very overwhelmed. I'm at peace with mortality. I mean, I worked as a funeral director, so I've kind of squared up with that whole situation, that I'm not going to last forever, and that's probably for everyone's benefit. But there's something about going in a bookstore and looking around and realizing, like, gosh, I just do not have time on earth to read nearly every book in this store. And it makes me feel sort of funny. And that paired up, I guess, with the conversation I was having at a table with my mother-in-law, who lives here in Victoria. We had brunch with her and her husband, and she is so good at downsizing, scarily good. And for a long time in her life had the practice of only having enough possessions, but it all had to fit into her car. That was her rule of thumb. Beyond that, she didn't need anything else. And that is impressive to me because I kind of like stuff. I know there is a minimalist trend where everything's supposed to be clean and sparse, and I'm just not into it. I like it when you walk into a person's house and it's like a little museum of them. I like that. But there has to be a limit. And where is that limit? That is the question of this next song. Because, oh, some of you, that was a knowing laugh here in the front. Yeah, oh, and a finger point. Okay, wow. Okay, well, yeah. There's no security here to break things up. But it's a tough relationship that I think about all the time. And I thought about it the first night that I spent in Germany. I was not a traveler before I started writing songs. Up to 2019, I had never been away from home for more than a week, and I'd never been out of the country. But I was asked to do both, to go on a big, long tour with that country musician, 3 months. We would spend the first month in Ontario in February. I know. Very attractive right there. And then we go on to England and Germany, and I was kind of terrified about the whole thing. And we'll get to that a little bit later. But this is about that first night. Our first show was in Munich, and we landed in Germany, and I had a lot of expectations about what that German experience would be like, starting with what we would eat, the most important thing. And maybe some of you have been to Germany. Have any of you been there before? Okay. And even if you haven't, you might have some expectations yourself about what a German meal might be like. It might include things like schnitzel, I'm hearing a little whisper, sort of a sausage thing, bratwurst. Yeah, those kind of German things. And I realized that most of my perceptions of Germany had been based on the covers of biscuit tins that my grandmother had when I was growing up that had pictures of what I thought Germany looked like. But our host, Michael, took us out for supper that first night, and he took us to a Greek restaurant, which right away kind of shattered my expectations. And he told us about the place we would be staying. It was a little apartment, not really even an apartment. It was a room. No, it was a closet, I'll say. It was a closet that had sort of 2 bunk beds wedged in it, and he said that we would have a great night's stay there, because the room had just been cleaned out thoroughly because the fellow who had lived in there prior to us had was called, maybe unkindly, a hoarder, which is not a word I like, but someone who did not have good boundaries about how much stuff to keep in their life. And the fellow had died in that room. But they'd given it a good cleaning. We would have a great night there. And again, I can't stress enough, I'm fine with death. I get it. It's fine. It's normal. But if someone has died in a room in your home and you're having company over to spend the night, you're not obliged to tell them that. That's all that I think. Over pale German ale, Michael tells us the tale of the man who had lived 1 floor down. For 50 long years, no one else ventured near. They walked through the hall, unaware of the squalor that he kept around. Newspapers and bags, traffickers and rags, pressures and trash piled high. A great wall of Germany built from its history, bric-a-brac bricks and the buzzing of flies. All alone in his room, sealed in his tomb when they finally opened the door. He had died in his chair, 3 days resting there. Mountains of memories in stacks on the floor. What makes it so strong? The urge to hold on to things we should really let go. In a one-man museum where people can't see them, secrets we keep from the neighbors below. And Munich wakes up in the morning and washes its face. But sadness makes marks you can feel in the dark. Fresh paint and plaster are meant to erase. Climbing each flight of the staircase, you might feel the footsteps of those gone before. The coming and going, the uneasy unknowing of those who have been through the war. Whoa. Michael leads us upstairs to the room we will share after we've played our concert that night. While the boys go out drinking, I lay here thinking, ashamed to feel lonely. I read Truman Capote just to keep on the light. Till I hear them stumbling, laughing and mumbling, tumbling down the cobblestone streets. Just a few hours, they'll take their cold showers and put cowboy boots back on their feet. And Munich wakes up in the morning and washes its face. When sadness makes marks you can feel in the dark, fresh paint and plaster are meant to erase. Climbing each flight of the staircase, you might feel the footsteps of those gone before. Coming and going, the uneasy unknowing of those who have been through the war. The coming and going, the uneasy unknowing of those who have been through the war. Oh, 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 I don't know if you've noticed there's a piano here. I noticed. One of the fun things, really fun things about traveling around playing these songs, every night is so different. And I suppose there might come a time when you do it enough that there's a bit of routine and it feels kind of Groundhog Day-ish traveling around, but that is so not the case in my world. Every night is so different, and not every night has a baby grand, or let alone a full grand on stage. So I'm in a very happy place right now. In that line of work as a funeral director, I don't write a heap of songs about death. We're hitting a stretch right now. I know we're on a bit of a stride. But I try not to let it bleed too much into the songs that I write and the songs that I play, because, as we say on the East Coast, it kind of kills the kitchen party. But it can't help but feed into your experience and perspective. And there's a phenomenon that I would see over and over again. The funeral home that I work for is in a little village where I grew up. And the phenomenon I would see often is that when the mother or the wife, the matriarch in a family would pass away, the gentleman would have to learn how to live life in a completely different way. You know, it's rural Nova Scotia, fairly traditional gender roles often there. And my heart went out to these fellows who had to face life in a new way. And so it inspired a song that I'm going to play for you now. But I wanted to recruit someone whose voice would really bring that song to life. And so I reached out to a musician on the East Coast named Ben Caplan. And I don't know if you are familiar with Ben. If you're not, his voice sounds kind of like Tom Waits, if that's a name familiar to you. And if it isn't, he sounds kind of like Cookie Monster with a lot of vocal training. But his voice has this great grit and expression to it. So we made a record together, and that's maybe the last time I was in Victoria when we were touring that record around. But he's not here. You'd know it. He's a pretty big presence, that fellow. But this is the song that brought Ben and I together in the first place. It's called VHS. I stayed up late for my auction bid, gently used a VCR, like Christmas morning for a kid. I typed the numbers on my credit card. I filled my name and my address. I paid for next day delivery. Harry barks at the UPS. Harry and me keep our own company. Treasures buried in my mind, they come alive and fill the screen. Memories I had left behind. It's been years since I had last seen the places that I used to go, the faces that I used to know. The basement shelves are in a mess. Joan would tear a strip off me. Stacks of books and VHS. Under the dust, a memory. The labels peel, the cases fade. Every tape, a new surprise. Birthday parties and friends we made. Babies grow before my eyes. Treasures buried in my mind, they come alive and fill the screen. When it ends, I press rewind. It's been years since I had last seen the places that I used to go, the faces that I used to know. Final show to end the night, our wedding day in late July. Joni's dress of lily white a smile, and now I remember just how she looked. I hadn't seen her in a long, long while. Treasures buried in my mind, they come alive and fill the screen. And when it ends, I press rewind. It's been years since I had last seen the places that I used to go, the faces that I used to know. Joni in her wedding dress, she visits me on VHS. Thanks so much. I live in a place called Windsor, Nova Scotia. Anybody been to Windsor, Nova Scotia? What? Reveal thyself. The whole town is here for the show, apparently. Wow, you've been to Windsor.
Yeah, we have friends near there.
Yeah.
He was the editor of the Hansville newspaper.
The Hants Journal.
Yeah.
Oh my gracious. Wow. Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, the story checks out. So I have a photograph from the archive of the Hants Journal newspaper. I don't want to brag, but I myself appeared in the Hants Journal newspaper at one point. Ooh, yeah. Even farther back, it was my best friend Becky and I sitting at the top of the giant slide at the Hants County exhibition. But the photograph that I have from the archive is a picture of a big brick building that was kind of the focal point of Windsor for many years. It was an old textile mill that the building stood for 150 years and employed generations of families in Windsor. And I loved it ever since I was a kid. I grew up in the country outside of Windsor, and I bet you haven't been to Somerville, Hants County. Yeah, okay, I got you there. But we would come into town for groceries and whatnot, and every time, because if you drive right through Windsor, you don't stop there, and you drive along the main highway that stretches across Nova Scotia, you'd see this building. And I always loved it, but when I was a teenager, the textile industry itself shut down and moved overseas, like so many things did. And the building was empty, and its fate was kind of in question. And so in the Hants Journal was published an artist concept. It was beautiful, a drawing of the plans to revive that building and turn it into something new. And there were to be luxury condominiums, which you probably didn't see many of in your visit to Windsor, because we don't have any. And it was a grand plan, and they started work on the building. They replaced all the windows at great cost and started mending the roof, and it looked very exciting. And then the project ground to a halt. The money ran out. And sure enough, as often happens, the local kids went in and smashed out the windows, and the place looked pretty decrepit. And that's the state it was in when I moved to Windsor. And I was flooded with affection all over again for this building, and hoped that someone would come along and scoop it up again. And so I wrote a song called Cotton Mill, and made a video to go along with it by Trespassing. I will admit that to you here, yes. And put it out into the world. It's the first song that I ever released properly, and I hoped it would inspire a rich angel to come along and save the place and turn it into something new. So I posted the video and hoped I wouldn't get a trespassing fine, and shared the song and waited. And it did not succeed. It did not happen. And sure enough, time and weather and wind and water all took their toll on the place, and eventually the roof caved in. So at that point, I wrote an even sadder song, and that's the one you're about to hear right now. It is on this new record, sung with my friend Stuart Legier, who has the voice of an angel. And I had recorded it also with my friend Ben Caplan, who has, as I've said, the voice of Cookie Monster. So you can compare and contrast the two. But for now, it's just me. This is called Brick and Mortar. I rub my hands and absorb the heat, radiating up through the passenger seat. The engine idle silent in the bitter cold. The light shines through a clean gray slate, a whisper of blue and the weary weight of hearts too heavy for our hands to hold. The hurt comes quick, the words come late, hours spent on an expiry date, and we both have other places we should be. The chance we had has passed us by, a straight plane in a neutral sky, a tear stain drying on a jacket sleeve. Hearts can pound through brick and mortar. Cornerstones are crumbling into dust. The walls come down, I come up short. I wanted more, I wanted more, I wanted more of us. The walls lean in, the roof has caved. One more thing that we can't save. Time and change will win, no matter how we try. And it's hard to say no, and hard to say when, to tear it all down or build it up again. There's a gentle art in saying goodbye. Hearts can pound through brick and mortar. Cornerstones are crumbling into dust. The walls come down, I come up short. I wanted more, I wanted more, I wanted more of Hearts can pound through brick and mortar. Cornerstones are crumbling into dust. The walls come down, I come up short. I wanted more, I wanted more, I wanted more. I wanted more. I wanted more of us. Thanks so much. I'm going to play one more song and then we'll take a little break together to do as you please. I have the requisite little flea market set up over there on the table with a couple of records and candles and I don't know whatever's there at this point. It could be dirty socks. We've been away for a week and yeah, no. There's a few things there and I appreciate, you know, the support from that. But gosh, honestly, I appreciate you buying a ticket and coming out to the show. It's kind of keeping music alive in a lot of ways and it makes a lot of difference to me that you did it. So thank you. I've been amazed from the get-go that this whole venture has worked at all. You know, you hear a lot of stories about how hard it is, touring life, being on the road, and it's true in some respects. And I think it's those stories that might have informed this next song, because when I got invited to go on that massive tour, that was in 2019, and my family and friends and people around me all encouraged me and said, you need to do this. This is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. You have to go for it. But I'm a wife and a mom, and I have 2 lovely dogs and a lot to leave behind. So it took a while for me to be convinced that it was a good idea. And the night that I finally tipped over myself and thought I would take that leap, I wrote a song for my family that is about spreading your wings and trying something new and being brave. And I went to bed that night feeling pretty good about the whole thing, and promptly had a wicked nightmare about what touring life might actually be like. And so that is the song I'm going to play for you right now, because it, honest to God, felt like running away and joining the circus. So I will play one more song for you, and then we'll see you in a little bit. Thank you so much. Cotton candy, sticky fingers, fryer grease, smoke that lingers in my wig, and costume clothes, nightmare paint, a bright red nose, a tiny town, the pouring rain, the monkeys pick fleas from the mane of a lion who had lost his fight to noise and heat and firelight, and in the ring I am a clown. We bring the circus into town and tumble round like acrobats for ticket stubs and coins in hats. Where are the crowds? They skip the show to listen to the radio. No, they don't bother coming down when the circus comes to town. Chorus girls, they twirl and dance, the frayed lace of their underpants. I made myself some grander plans, swallowed swords and sleights of hand. A magic man cuts me in half to oohs and ahs and doubtful laughs. And every morning crack of dawn, the wheels turn and we move on. And in the ring I am a clown. We bring the circus into town and tumble round like acrobats for ticket stubs and coins in hats. Where are the crowds? They skip the show to listen to the radio. No, they don't bother coming down when the circus comes to town. At noon I'll share my sandwiches with elephants and ostriches and think about my precious kids packing their own school lunches. I daydream of a different tent, the summer evenings that we spent at Risser's Beach, laid side by side, the nylon walls, the roaring tide, and in the ring I am a clown. We bring the circus into town and tumble round like acrobats for ticket stubs and coins in hats. Where are the crowds? They skip the show to listen to the radio. No, they don't bother coming down when the Great. What should I say if I can't say hello? Should I replay all the words we already know? I know you've moved on, but I promise I'll try. When I see you on the other side of goodbye, well, I've made my bed and you've made up your mind to take your love and leave the rest behind, where there's no use in wishing when the well has run dry. And I see you on the other side of goodbye. Should I just step aside and stay out of your way and pretend I don't miss you a little more every day? Tell me, what should I be? Yeah, what should I do if I can't open my arms and reach on out to you? Well, I'll write you a letter and expect no reply. When I see you on the other side of goodbye. Well, I've paid my dues. Yeah, the coin has been tossed. But who makes the rules when I've already lost? Tell me, what should I be? Yeah, what should I do if I can't open my arms and reach on out to you? Well, I'll write you a letter and expect no reply. When I see you on the other side of goodbye, yeah, I'll put on a smile. No, you won't see me cry when I see you on the other side of goodbye. Thank you so much for sticking around on a Sunday night. Imagine that. That is so nice. I had a couple lovely chats with a few folks during the break, and yeah, just makes me feel very much welcome. I haven't spent that much time on the West Coast. Just a few visits, most of them music related, but it is uniformly beautiful here. I've been here, I think, in every season, and you've really got something good going on here in Victoria, in particular, I think. I haven't played a lot here, but there's lots of incentive to come, not just because my mom-in-law and some family live here, but one of my heroes lives here. His name is Stephen Fearing. And yeah, really, I go way back with Stephen Fearing, but he doesn't know that. So when I was a kid, I took piano lessons. When I was growing up, things were very different. Nowadays, kids are scheduled to bits. They have something different going on every night of the week, and that means their parents are scheduled to bits too. But where I grew up, I don't know if it was just because we lived out in the country or for financial reasons, but you picked one thing. And you were a hockey kid or a 4-H kid, or you were one kind of kid, and I was a piano lesson kind of kid, and it was my favorite thing to do. But my granddad was a guitar player and a fiddle player, and that dominated the whole music scene in our household. So, you know, I was doing my piano thing, but there were guitars around all of the time. And I wanted to learn to play guitar because piano was not super cool when I was in high school. And guitar was the thing to learn. But I did not want him to teach me how to play guitar. And this, obviously, was well before the years of YouTube when you can learn to do anything by yourself. So I would wait till he was out of the house, away cleaning people's furnaces. That was his line of work. And then I would get out his guitar and try to play it. But you know, like I said, there was no YouTube. I didn't have a guitar teacher. I'd already cashed in my one extracurricular credit. So I had to learn myself. And I got my hands on a cassette called The Assassin's Apprentice, which is one of the early albums that Stephen Fearing put out, and became obsessed with it to the point I played it so much that cassettes would stretch, and then they would slow down and they would go out of tune. So I did learn how to retune guitars because I had to keep adjusting mine to match the gradually slowing down tape of Stephen Fearing. So when I heard that Stephen Fearing was coming to Halifax, the closest city to where I lived, an hour away, I was elated. He was opening, though, for a musician named Sarah McLachlan. So I hatched a campaign to get myself to the show because it would mean members of my family buying tickets and doing the drive-in. So I suddenly, overnight, became a rabid Sarah McLachlan fan and persuaded my grandmother to buy me concert tickets to go to the show, and never confessed to her that I was really going to see Stephen Fearing. But the jig was up because for my birthday, I was given money to spend at the merch table. And so I headed off. It was at a beautiful theater called the Rebecca Cohen. My grandmother and great-grandmother were along for the ride. And I went to the merch table and made my selection, and I came back to my seat where they were waiting. And they said, "What did you buy?" And I showed them this giant, rough black cotton t-shirt with a picture of a man on the front. And they said, "Who is that?" And that's how they learned that I was really just there to see the opening act, all 3 songs from Stephen Fearing. So I go way back with Stephen Fearing, and music, this chapter of music life has put me suddenly in touch. Instead of just being the awkward fan who gushes at the end of shows, suddenly these people treated me like peers, and it still absolutely blows my mind. And it's happened with a few different people, but Stephen is one. And I don't know where I got the gumption to do this, but I had asked him at one point if he might consider singing a song with me on a record someday. And he agreed. And so I held on to that, and then one night started writing a song and knew before it was done that this was the one. So I stopped halfway, and I wrote an email to Stephen Fearing and just left it be, and then went back and finished the song, and then sent the song along with the email, hoping he would say yes, and he did. So on this new record, Sunset, you will have audio evidence of one of my lifelong dreams coming true. Now he's not here, he lives here, he's out traveling around, that's what he does, and someday we'll get to sing this together in person, but for tonight, I'm going to play it by myself. This is the aptly titled, it turns out, East to West. Love is not an arrow being guided by a bow. It is spinning in a compass that won't say where to go. A game of indecision is one that you can't win. When you think your heart is growing, but it's only growing thin. Watching one sun setting, another rising in your chest. When you have a heart that's heading to the east and to the west, I know I'm being greedy, and I know it isn't right, to ask myself this question. In the secret of the night, I know I should be grateful. Love is hard enough to find, but choosing can be painful. Leaving half your heart behind, watching one sun setting, another rising in your chest. When you have a heart that's heading to the east and to the west, when you have a heart that's heading to the east and to the west. I'm a lifelong Nova Scotian, very proud to be so. And like I said, I hadn't traveled much at all. It's been very eye-opening over the past 5 years to get out and look around at places. And I had the great chance to drive across Canada with Ben Caplan when we made that record in 2022. And Ben is a very seasoned traveler. He's done this a lot of times, and the novelty had kind of worn off, I think, a bit for him. So it was sort of fun to have me go along and experience things for the first time, it's kind of like a golden retriever in the passenger seat there, head out the window. But Canada, I learned from traveling with Ben. Ben's a very big presence, like I said. He's, kind of a big voice and big hair and big beard and especially big presence in a van for 5 weeks. And we learned an awful lot about each other, but I learned a lot from Ben because he would give me pointers, helpful hints along the way about how to be on stage and what to do, because I still feel somewhat new at this, but he said, as we travel around, this stretch across Canada and back again, you're in all these new places. Before we get there, learn a little tidbit, something fun, a little curious fact about each place, and get up on stage and say it to the crowd. Tell them something about their town, and they will feel very special, and they will like you. And I've seen this strategy used before to great effect, and I thought about doing that myself. And then each night, across the country and back again, I'd get up on stage and I would brag about Nova Scotia instead. And I'm going to keep that up here in Victoria tonight, if that's okay with you. Because the fact is, though, any place that's by the water, any coast, anywhere, I have that pull toward the water on account of being Nova Scotian. I grew right up on the Bay of Fundy, right on the edge of it, a little place called the Avon River, with the huge tides, some of the biggest in the world, and that's just what I was used to. So when I came to BC for the first time, my brother-in-law lives in Deep Cove, and we went down by the water. They have a boat and do some kayaking and all those things that you all seem to do over here, and someone told me that the tide was out. And honest to God, there was like a little 6-inch wet strip on the sand. I thought, you are having a laugh here if that's what you think the tide going out is supposed to mean, because it looks very different on the Bay of Fundy. But there's a beautiful town, too, on the ocean side, on the Atlantic. It's called Lunenburg, Hants County. And Nova Scotia likes to show off Lunenburg. If you ever get a postcard from Nova Scotia, chances are it either has Peggy's Cove, the lighthouse, the Blue Nose, which lives in Lunenburg, or Lunenburg itself. And it's justified. It is a beautiful town. And it captured my heart one night. In 2017, I was trekking along with that country musician and another friend of ours who plays guitar. And we were playing a concert in Lunenburg, inside a church, a glorious church in Lunenburg that is notable because the ceiling of it is painted like the night sky. And when we got there, before we arrived, we did our sound check in this beautiful church. And then we went out for supper, as you do, and in Lunenburg you go out for fish and chips. That's what's on offer. And there in the restaurant were all couples, you know, having a romantic evening out. And then they all came to the show, so the church was full of couples paired up together. And then the three of us stray dogs after the show went off to the bed and breakfast where we were put up for the night, and each room was appointed for romance. There were 2 wine glasses and 2 chocolates for each person, but we were just 3 strays. We did not have loves with us. And that is the perfect time to write a love song because I will maintain, I've said this a lot, but you don't write a song about a sandwich when you are eating a sandwich. You write a song about a sandwich when you are hungry for a sandwich. So that is where this little maritime waltz comes from. It is called Lunenburg Moon, and it is a little gift for you all from the other coast. The church glowing golden, I remember your smile and the echo of footsteps as we met in the aisle. And the music was gentle, but it lifted us high. It was just an old folk song, but it still made me cry. We went to a party with some friends down the street. The wine kept on flowing as we followed our feet to a house on the hillside while the town was asleep. Every step on the staircase had a secret to keep. All the words I remember, and I remember the tune. At the end of September, and me and you and the Lunenburg moon. Your hand I was holding, my heart skipping beats in the bed of a captain with sails for its sheets, and the room was so quiet, just whispers and waves. In the darkness we drifted, 2 souls to be saved. All the words I remember, and I remember the tune. At the end of September, and me and you and the Lunenburg moon. you're far from the harbor and the ship has sailed on, and the shore winds blow colder the longer you're gone. And I wait by the window and I watch the snow fly, and you're miles from the ocean with no moon in the sky. All the words I remember, and I remember the two at the end of September, and me and you and the Lunenburg moon. At the end of September, and me and you and the Lunenburg moon. Thank you so much. As anticipated, several of the chats that occurred during the break, and this is not the first time I've encountered it, were not in fact about songwriting at all, but were about funerals. Shocked I am. No, it is. It was an interesting chapter. It still is an interesting chapter, largely because people now will talk to me about funerals at shows when I'm sure they would not have taken the time to walk into the funeral home and talk to me about funerals. And so I'm grateful for the way that it kind of opens up that conversation, which I think is a good one, a healthy one to have with your family. And I did not grow up as a child planning to be a funeral director. You know, I was talking to Silas here in the crowd about kind of, I've wanted to send the message that your life isn't necessarily on one track for your whole life. I'm sure some of you have had pivot points in your life where you've taken on a new career, moved to a new place, or started a new relationship, and that all can be very healthy. And I will tell you, because some of us are new to each other here, though, the story of my very first funeral that I looked after all by myself, because it sticks out clear as a bell to me. It was a graveside service on a Friday night in the summer, and it was all me. There was no minister. There was no one else attending this service, so the pressure was on to get it right. I was working as an apprentice then, and the family had elected to dig the hole for the service themselves. And it was a cremation service, a small hole service, as we might say. And I thought it was a very loving gesture for them to do this and to get involved that way. And we met there on Friday evening, and I nervously went through the service, the prayers, scriptures, and songs, and eulogy, and the whole 9 yards. And at the end of it, I looked around the circle, and the family looked very pleased with how things had gone. And there was a very peaceful sense at the end of it, and I was very much relieved. And I realized in that moment, though, that the members of the family who had dug the hole for the service had failed to bring back with them the shovel to fill in the hole at the end of the service, which is a key component of resolving the funeral. And that's fine, you know. In music and in funerals, it pays to be a bit resourceful and quick on your feet. And so we all kind of rallied together and used our empty Tim Hortons cups and things and filled in the hole together. And that was a very nice personal moment, I think. And that was great. Everyone was pleased and went on their way. But I had been harboring a secret during the whole service because I didn't want the family to feel like I was rushing at all. But I was a bit, because I was supposed to be at a concert in Halifax, an hour away, that same evening, and I hopped in the car and made haste into the city and got to the show as quick as I could. I strapped my guitar case on my back and ran to the venue and burst through the door, and the first person I saw was my friend Jason. And I entered the door, huffing and puffing, said, "Oh my gosh, Jason, I am so sorry. I know that I am running a little bit late, but I was at a funeral service, and the gravedigger didn't show up, so I had to fill in." Yeah, I know. Bad joke. True story. In the hard gray chairs at the doctor's office, me and a man with a terrible cough. It's 11 a.m., the doctor is late, nothing there to do but wait. He handed me a wrinkly business card, told me of his young years working hard, small engine repair, tractors and mowers, back in the days when the world moved slower. He had loved every minute of the simple life, a lot less simple since he lost his wife. She had died last June, with lungs full of cancer. He took all the tests, he was waiting for answers. His hands were shaking, he looked so nervous as he handed me the card that said, "At your service." At the funeral home when the paperwork came, I remembered the card and I remembered his name. The obituary short, no next of kin. We only had to print a few bulletins for the half dozen people that had gathered there, fanning themselves in their hard gray chairs. Workers from the home where the old man lived, sympathy cards with nobody to give. The minister comforted in their loss, and everybody rose for the old rugged cross. We carried him down to where the grass was mown, his wife and his son's names carved in stone. As we covered the grave with a shovel of dirt, I remembered the card with the words, "At your service." Okay, thank you. We were chatting there just at the break. Where I grew up, out in the country, in Somerville, nobody wrote songs. Who needed to write songs? Everyone there loved country, old country music, Willie Nelson and Hank Williams and all the good old stuff. And why would you ever bother writing songs with all those good ones there? And they certainly weren't welcome at the jam. The jam sessions there, don't even bother trying. So it never occurred to me to try. So when I started writing songs, probably 8 years ago or so, my granddad, who was quite forthright in his opinions about virtually everything, said, "Listen, it's fine if you want to go play all those songs that you're writing, but you should play at least one song that they might know so they can tell if you're any good or not." So if this happens to be a song that you know and you feel like singing along a bit, it would bolster my confidence, and I can go back and tell my granddad, yeah, he was right again. So I love this song. It was written by one of the greats who wrote it when he was a young man, but I love the fact that the first line is, "I am an old woman." This is a John Prine song. I am an old woman, named after my mother. man is another child that's grown old. And if dreams with thunder and lightning was desire, this old house would have burned down a long time ago. Make me an angel that flies from Montgomery. Make me a poster from an old rodeo. Just give me one thing that I can hold on to. To believe in this living is just a hard way to go. When I was a young girl, I had me a cowboy. We were much to look at, just a free rambling man. That was a long time, and no matter how hard I tried, the years just flow by like a broken down dam. Make me an angel that flies from Montgomery. Make me a poster from an old rodeo. Just give me one thing that I can hold on to. To believe in this living is just a hard way to go. There's flies in the kitchen, I can hear them in there buzzing. I ain't done nothing since I woke up today. But how the hell can a person go to work in the morning, come home in the evening, and have nothing to say? Make me an angel that flies from Montgomery. Make me a poster from an old rodeo. Just give me one thing that I can hold on to. To believe in this living is just a hard way. Make me an angel that flies from Montgomery. Make me a poster from an old rodeo. Just give me one thing that I can hold on to. To believe in this living is just a hard way. To believe in this living is just a hard way. To believe in this living is just a hard way to go. Just gonna play one or two more for you. Gosh, I'd love to make it last. This is absolutely beautiful. I was told that this room is a gorgeous place, and it is indeed, but a room's only as good as the people in it, and you have been so lovely tonight, so thank you so much for this welcome. I have a traveling companion who is along with me, and I'm going to have him up to sing a song in just a minute, but before I do, I'm going to play a song that is a request of sorts. But tonight I'm going to send it out to my new friend Silas, because I hope that you do big, bold, brave things. This adventure in music is not the most sensible thing to launch into at the midpoint, perhaps, of your life. But it's only worked out because of people opening doors and buying tickets and being kind and taking risks themselves on me. So this is a song I hope that's also for all of you. I hope you have people in your life that encourage you to do bold and brave things. Just skip on the thong underwear byway.
People about the wonderful Celtic Colors Festival in
Heaven's sakes, in Nova Scotia. Thank you very much. Yes, yes, yeah.
It's such a fabulous festival.
Mm-hmm.
We've been there a couple of times, and it is so good.
Yes, if you didn't catch that, Celtic Colors.
Celtic Colors.
Yeah, in Cape Breton, Nova Scotia, in the prime time, fall of the year in Nova Scotia. There's no better time to come. It's in October. So make the trip. Get the ticket. Come on down. The tea kettle's on. Yeah. Oh, yes. Well, thank you for coming out and supporting live music, especially after.
I also support Cape Breton music too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you get double gold stars then tonight, I think. Yes, yeah. Well, thank you for coming out here. If you want to come out to shows in Nova Scotia, I'm going back home, so I'll play some there for you too. This is a song that I wrote for my family, and tonight's for you. It's called Training to Fly. I look overhead in the morning to the families of Canada geese. In the gray autumn sky, they are training to fly. Broken V's, incomplete victories. And today, as I make my way homeward, I think of the snowbirds that sing. Sometimes I can't tell if I am still in my shell or if I have started stretching my wings. But I feel the wind pushing forward. I feel the pull of the sky. The fear and the freedom of a free falling bird that's been waiting and training to fly. I thought I would be like my mother. Her babies kept safe in the nest, with no thoughts in her mind to leave them behind. Every day she gave them her best, but a nest isn't made for forever. And my babies, I want you to know that it's good to be grown and choose paths of your own and be brave wherever you go. But I feel the wind pushing forward. I feel the pull of the sky. training to fly. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all so much for making tonight so beautiful. I hope that this isn't our last time together. I'd love to see you all again in your beautiful neck of the woods or mine. I have a little booklet if you don't mind sharing your email list. I just mention it because I like to point out that I will not harass you by email. It's nothing worse than if you buy a t-shirt somewhere and then they think, oh, you need to hear from me every single day of your life. No, I promise not to do that, but it would be nice to keep in touch some way or another. All over the internet, just the internet's polluted with me, so we can stay in touch all the normal ways that people do this business, and but it just would be nice to stay friends. I have a good friend here in the crowd tonight who's going to sing the last song with me, hopefully. Do you still agree to do that? Marvelous. You've heard so much about him. Far too much, more than he would care to. I would love you for this last song to welcome to the stage my beloved husband, Andrew. Right.
When all is lost and life is upside down,
A friend is there to turn your day around.
when your hands are full, a friend might hold the door.
Yes, that is what good friends are for. To keep your secrets under lock and key.
To forgive the flaws that other folks don't see.
To remind you of a joke that you once shared. Yes, that is how a good friend cares. A friend is nice when you need advice. They'll steer you clear of trouble. They understand when you need a hand. They will be there on the double. When you need a lift or you feel adrift, a friend might throw a line. It's such a gift to have a friend like mine.
Now anyone can love you at your best,
But only a good friend can pass the test.
they'll love you when you're angry, sad or bitter.
A friend makes you a winner when you feel like a quitter. Oh, yeah.
We're in a jazz club.
Well, that was something new. Wow. Yes. When you're tipsy in the glow of candlelight,
And you ask a friend if they might stay the night.
but they don't stay. They go home to someone else. That is one way a good friend helps.
A shoulder you can cry on.
And nothing more. Yes, that is what good friends are for. A huge thank you to Ethan at the back and the whole team here at Herman's Jazz Club. It's all that is cracked up to be. Thank you so much, Andrew. I'm Terra Spencer from Windsor, Nova Scotia, and this has been such a treat. Thank you all so much for coming. Oh gosh, did they lock the door or something? No. Oh wow. I had a request for somber songs. I feel funny leaving that way, but I'm going to do it. So there's a song on this record that is on my mind right now because we are those people, being new travelers, we buy fridge magnets. It's kind of the cheesy thing to do, but that's the jumping point for this song. Oh dear, that's all I'll say. There was something about Paris. 7 years ago I promised I would take you to the Eiffel. You would smile when I mentioned, tuck the tickets in an envelope, hidden in a book you got for Christmas. And when you read the final chapter beside me in our bed, you looked puzzled, disbelieving. You jumped out of the covers and you danced around the bedroom, laughing as the tears filled up your eyes. You were nervous and excited. You held on to my hand. The lights along the runway held your breath until we landed. It was dirty, smelled of cigarettes. Everything there did. But you loved every minute, so I loved every minute. And back at home in our apartment, the magnet on our fridge, you would talk about it often. The little things we did. You left your raincoat on the train, but the sun shone every day. It was perfect. To burn, forgotten names of friends, the mistakes I tried to cover, to tie up your loose ends. You were angry, I was grieving, as your memories slipped away. They are fading, you are fading, drifting farther every day. And now I sit here by your bedside, I'm kissing you and crying. Your eyes are nearly closed, your breathing slows. Before you go, I lean in as you whisper something about Paris, something about Paris. Something. Yes. Thanks so much, everybody. This is wonderful.